Welcome to Head, Heart, Hands. My name is Gary Jones, your host, and today we're joined again by Pastor John Miller, who, if you've been with us, he does not need a more formal introduction, but I will say that he's served many, many years in ministry, vocationally as a pastor, and even in the parachurch ministry world, and he has a lot of experience, and that's why we're picking his brain again today. He's also the author of the book called Resilient: Key Factors to a Long and Successful Pastorate. So we've been slowly going through key factors that help ministry leaders be resilient in their ministry to last a long time. And today we're on key factor number 7, which is titled A Supportive Spouse. So this is a great topic. So I just want to start off by asking John, because you mentioned in your book, and I thought this is really interesting here, you mentioned in your research that you did, in your doctoral research, that you discovered that with long-serving, healthy pastors, that their wives were the most significant reason for their endurance in ministry. That was a not surprising thing, but an incredible statement. So let's just start off with the obvious. Why is it so important to have a supportive spouse in ministry?
To begin with, I wrote that book, and actually I did a doctoral dissertation before that, to find out why pastors last so long in ministry and why most pastors don't. Well, why do some thrive, not just survive, for decades of successful ministry, while others, the stats are horrible. Maybe the average pastor lasts 3 to 5 years in pastoral ministry before he moves on and burns out, or something happens, or he takes a avocation, or he leaves the ministry, whatever. And there's a lot of reasons why. And I found in my research 9 factors of longevity that pastors who last long and well will have these ingredients in their life, and that they have taken to heart, taken seriously in their ministry, and that is why they last long and well. So I just wanted to give an intro to that. When it came to this, and I gave in my research many pastors around the country. What do you think are the factors that gave you longevity? This one came to the top, and there's a lot of very important ones if you go back and listen to some of the other podcasts.
Yes, yeah. But you can go back and listen. We have 6 other that we did. We're going to do a few more even after this.
A few more.
But this one, pastors have said, is the most significant reason, or you identified maybe among, we don't want to do a hierarchy. I don't think that was the point of it. That's why you didn't do a hierarchy. But it is very significant.
Yeah.
And why do you think that is?
It's obviously your wife, all right? And the reason is because the two are one flesh. And, we come into marriage, in a partnership that's it's mystical, it's spiritual, it's a one flesh relationship. So you can't think of going into ministry without your wife going into ministry.
Yeah.
When I was engaged and wasn't married yet, I remember talking to my wife Carol. We went up to a park near her home, and I said, I believe God's calling me into ministry, and I'm not sure what it looks like, because I was a youth pastor and kind of doing youth pastor things at the time. But I think that's going to be my life. And, have you thought deeply about it, about going in that direction? Because that's where I feel strongly led. Because if she said, no, I don't, or if she said, I'm not sure I do, that would have been powerful. Obviously at this point we're engaged, and I should have asked that question. I just really wanted to bring this subject up because her father was a pastor.
Yeah.
So she knew a bit
Yeah.
of what she was getting into.
Hmm.
And her response was, yes, I'm excited to go with you
Yeah.
into this ministry. And that's just the way we did it. But because we're one flesh, one flesh. And for me to have my passion and heart's desire there, it does mean that her number one passion in life is the pastor's wife, and she has no other passion. That's not what that means. She may have a career. She could have passions in other areas, and that's all fine. But
Yeah.
she's got to be 100% behind me, and kind of my cheerleader in this endeavor. Or what am I doing? What am I
Yeah.
getting myself into? And of course, we can say yes at the beginning and then go through the struggle of ministry.
Yep.
And a wife could say, you know what, I don't think I thought I signed up for something easier than this. I can't handle. I mean, that can happen. That can happen.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to be realistic. But at least we need to understand that you got married, all right? You got married. She's the number one most important human being on the planet to you. More important than church. More important than the people in the pews.
At least she should be.
She has to be.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's almost, I feel like I have to clarify for myself and others, like she should be that, right?
Well, some people think, well, wait a minute,
Yeah.
John, this is God's work. This is God's work. Well, and I dealt with some people just recently who grew up in a philosophy in their family that God was ministry. Then the family came second. And so here's the conversations that took place. Children, maybe they're 10, 12, 8, I don't know. Children, we're serving God, so we're going to be going to this country, and we're sending you to boarding school, and we'll see you next summer. And that's the way it'll be for the next 17 years. We love you, but, we're serving God. And that was a belief many, many years ago. That was a belief. It's been countered quite a bit since then. So missionaries and pastors have kind of understood that family is more important than ministry, than a ministry. Family is your ministry. And God is God. And then there's vocation, which can be pastor, missionary, all right? But the family comes before the vocation.
Yeah.
Obviously not before God in that sense of hierarchy. But if we get it wrong, well, we're messed up. We're messed up. So when I started Northwest Bible Church, probably the second or third Sunday, I said to them, I love you. I want to give 110% to you in terms of my heart in being pastor of this church. But I want you to know that my wife comes before you.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be married to the church. I love this church, but I'm not married to the church. I'm married to my wife. And by the way, I don't want you to be married to this church either, because that can happen, with Christians who they just love to serve, and they're at the church every time the doors are open, and they give so much to the ministry, and in doing so neglect the family, the wife, or the husband. And so, anyway, these are things we should talk about, because we can, without talking about them, we can get ourselves in a real mess by messing with the proper priorities of life. So, the one flesh relationship is why it's so important. She's got to be all in believing that this is the calling that her husband has for now, and I'm 100% behind him, and we're going to go through a lot of stuff together, but I'm going to be with him through it all. So I think that would at least partially answer that first question you have there.
Yeah, and someone that's both, near and dear to us has told a story several times growing up. His dad was a church planner, and he said he was taught in Bible school as a pastor, take care of God's church, and God will take care of your family. And that really did a number on him as a child of that pastor, because it was kind of this, it was flipped, like we were saying. It was kind of, it's God, and then God's mission, and then my family. And that had ripple effects in this guy's family and even in his own life, and he shared it several times with me.
Wow.
But yeah, like you're saying, there's kind of this hierarchy, if you will, of love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, strength. Like, he's number one. But then there's verses like, love your wife as Christ loved the church. Like, she's two. And like your kids and family, vocation and community, all these different things.
Yes.
So if we're saying here, because you say this in the book, the soul care of our wife is our most important ministry, which makes sense when we kind of look through the hierarchy. Do you have any suggestions on just how we can do that well?
Well, Ephesians 5, in the passage you referred to, talks about nurture. We're to nurture the church and cherish the church. We're to nurture our wife and cherish our wife. He kind of blends the two there in Ephesians 5. How important he, connects the wife to the church there, that I'm to give my life for my wife, to love her as Christ loved the church, when he nourished her and cherished her. And to nourish my wife means to care for her at soul level, to care for her soul, to be a mate, a student of my mate, to know her well, to serve her well, to really spend the time to know where her needs are, and to seek as I can as her husband, to seek those needs. I am not Jesus. I can't be Jesus. Jesus is Jesus to her. So I'm not that, but I am her husband. I'm called by God to nourish my wife, and to see that she is healthy spiritually and physically and mentally, and all of that. And then I'm to cherish her. And the word cherish is such a beautiful word. And it means to, at least one definition, it means to highly value. So, and she needs to know that I highly value her. Not just that I value her and then she finds out and she's surprised, but she needs to know that I do. I value her above all relationships. So that means she's number one. The church is not number one. Because you can get that feeling after a while. A wife can feel that. Because why? Well, because we're down at the church a lot. We're going visitation. We're seeing people. We're meeting people. We're seeing people come to Christ and discipling them. We're spending a lot of time. I mean, it's our vocation. It's our passion. It's our, and as I like to say, it's our occupation. It's our occupation, but it's more than that. It's not like my dad when I asked him how's work going. He said, "Well, it's a job." For me in ministry, it was my passion. I realized there were low moments when I probably talked like my dad, but for the most part, man, I was called to care for these people of the flock and to shepherd them, and I want to do that. And my wife knew my heart was there, but I tried to make sure. And as we talk about kids later, I wanted them also to know that they were number one in my heart. Now, saying they're number one in my heart and demonstrating that are really different things. So that's why we're talking about this stuff, because it's one thing to say what everybody's agrees to, that, oh yeah, wife and family, they're important, they're number one. Well, guess what happens along the way is you get so engrossed in the ministry and that you can easily neglect your home life and neglect your wife. When that happens, things begin to fall apart.
And it seems, unfortunately, there's many people who are in an occupation that it's not their passion, But then on the other hand, there are several people where it is their passion. And when that's the case, it almost doesn't seem much different than many men, right? Because we have this blessing of being able to do vocational ministry as our occupation every day.
Yeah.
But really, any man in any job, it could become an idol, right? Like
Yes.
they could just work in that too much and neglect their wife and their kids. And
Well, they can, and this brings to my mind the fact that there's certain companies that will require too much of their employees.
yeah,
Right now my son, who works for Deloitte, he sits in a chair. We're in my office / guest house right now, and I'm looking over at the chair that my son who's staying with us for 6 months, is working for a global company, and they expect a lot out of him. He works some 12-hour days, and I'm going, wow, okay, there's got to be a limit to this. This has got to slow down pretty soon, because wife and family,
yeah,
I'm watching because they're staying with us for 6 months, and he knows that, and his heart is to put his family first. So I love that about him. But a lot of too many church leadership expect too much from the pastor.
yeah,
And they do expect him to work the 60, 70 hours a week, every week, this kind of thing, to meet all these needs, to have wear all these hats. And man, if he doesn't come into it going, hey, guess what? Here's what I can give you. Here's my priorities, and yes, I'm gonna give my heart and soul to this, but my heart and soul first of all is to my wife.
yeah,
So I don't want to abuse that, and I want you to know that right up front. And pastors, I don't know. There's different personality of pastors, and some pastors go, "Hey, I'll do whatever you want. Whatever you want, I'll be there." I had a pastor friend who's actually said that. He told me, "John, I told my previous church that here's my cell phone, and I'm 24/7 at your service.
wow,
If you have a need, call me. I'll be there." And he told 700 people that.
oh my gosh,
Okay, so this person had 3 boys.
yeah,
They were in my youth group, and they were not faring well because they needed their dad.
makes sense.
So that was something I'd never ever forget. And as I was a youth pastor in those days, that helped me understand priorities.
Yeah,
It really did.
yeah, that's a great observation. And kind of switching gears here a little bit. So, as you know, like if we have the blessing of having a good relationship with our spouses, which I think we both do, praise God for that. It's easy to, she in many ways becomes our number one confidant, right? Like she's the person we're talking to about most things. Probably not every single thing, but most things in life that are happening. And I'm sure you've experienced this. I've experienced this in my earlier days of ministry, where I would just kind of come home and start telling her all these things that are happening. And I could tell that we started to become a little unproductive, because in the same way you just kind of scroll through, news articles, it can become overwhelming.
Yeah.
And I remember the lead pastor I was serving with at that time, and even my father-in-law as well, told me at different times, like, you don't want to just come home and tell them everything about the ministry all the time. Right? Because it's just not productive. Like, she doesn't need to know that. Like, I also don't need to know every single little detail about what happened with her and the kids that day, or at her job as well, right? So how do you learn to decipher what to disclose, what not to disclose? Does that make sense? Because it's just not
and you can't
productive.
And it's not healthy to hide the deep hurts that you're going through. So on the other end of the spectrum.
Yes.
So, it's really understanding the woman that you married and what her capacity is. Because some women have just a greater capacity to handle crazy things that are going on at church with people's lives, and don't internalize it, don't take it personally, don't take offense of their husband's hurt. And there are certain wives who kind of have strong constitutions that way. I don't think there's a lot of them around. I think most wives feel the hurts and hits that their husband has, and sometimes take it personally on
Yeah.
them because the two are one flesh, of course. And so, therefore, it is wise for the pastor or for the husband to be very careful as to what kinds of things he shares. We can share too much, and I know that I've done that. I've come
Same.
home and just
Same.
unloaded,
Yeah, I've done
especially
that too.
early in ministry, because I wanted a place to unload,
Yeah.
and I figured this is a safe place.
And they're usually, I mean, they're willing to listen too.
And
Like
they're
they want to
willing to
be
listen, and there's a
helpful.
lot of things you can share.
Yes.
That they're going to go, wow, that's okay. Let's pray about that.
Yes.
Go, good. And then they're helpful. They're really helpful because now they're saying, well, what are you going to do about it? Well, I was thinking about doing this. Oh, really? I don't think you ought to do that. You don't want to go and say that to him, do you?
Yeah.
I do, but I probably shouldn't.
And you're right. It's probably not productive.
And you're right. Well, why don't we pray about it before you go out and do that? A wife will say that.
That's
And,
great.
oh, man, save my bacon. So
Yeah.
we, hopefully the idea is that God knows what he's doing here. He put a certain person with you to be your companion, your helpmeet in ministry. And so you've got to utilize that resource. But you have to know, you have to have finesse and know where to go and what to share. And by the way, when to share it. Because, man, if she's with the kids and she's wiped out and you come through the door and you want to dump this stuff on her at the wrong time, it's not going to go well. And some wives have a career on top of having children at home. I mean, it's like, they've got their own whole world,
and that's
right
becoming
there.
more and more the norm, just
economically,
right?
Economically,
More wives are working.
Unfortunately, and I say unfortunately, if you've got 2, 3, 4 kids, man, there's a full-time job right there. How do you do both? And,
most definitely
and
is.
I actually don't know. A lot of wives can work at home and pull it off, and if they can actually pull it off, they can pull it off.
Yeah.
But this whole idea of what I kind of open up to my wife about is really important. And there are things I might share with my my covenant group. In other words, a group of men that I meet with on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And we share the horror stories and the tough times and the hurts and how to handle things. And I may share some things with them that I don't go in detail to my wife about because it doesn't help her. It just causes more stress. And she doesn't need it. She doesn't need it. So it's a dance to know what to share, what not to share.
Yeah. It's
just knowing your spouse, knowing your spouse. And that's part of that nurturing aspect of just knowing her heart and what she can handle.
Definitely. Yeah, in here, you make this interesting comment, which I believe to be true, where you say pastoral ministry, for the husband going into ministry vocationally, it's not a singular calling, but a mutual calling. Would you mind just unpacking that a little bit and what you mean by that?
Well, it's a calling. She needs to be on board. You could look at it opposite way, and this happens sometimes where a woman has a career, and you're the husband, but you don't have the same passions and that she does, but you have an agreement in your marriage that you're going to support her in her career.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a choice, and you've got to do that mutually and be there for her in that. When we talk about, and specifically according, we're going through my book, which is men in pastoral ministry to some degree, or men in any form of ministries. That's kind of the way we're going about this. Obviously, women go into ministries, but it is a kind of a captain, co-captain kind of situation. We both go in to it with both a heart for what it is, and there's not a disconnect there where I really, you know, don't. I'm just not. I'm not into what you're into, or so to speak, because
Yeah.
what and we see that where there's where's your wife? I don't see her at this event, or I didn't see her the last 2 weeks at church, or I this and that, and she may be uninterested.
Yeah.
She may be at a let's say a season of her life where she needs to take a break. That okay, understand that, but she may be in a situation where she's just lost a heart for what you do. Boy, that's a big deal.
Yeah. And you see that, unfortunately, from time to time. I've worked with the pastor before where, sadly, the wife was not very supportive of him in his role. And it just had ripple effects through the whole church. And sadly, the marriages in our church at that time, I think because they just saw the disunity in the pastor and his wife, that it unfortunately trickled down to the rest of the church where it almost gave people a license for disunity as well in their own marriages. I'm not blaming the guy. I had compassion on him, and it was a difficult situation, but it really is a big deal.
Well, it is
to
a big
be
deal. How can
have
you
the support of your wife in ministry.
how can you expect church families to be doing well if you're not?
Yeah.
You're an example. I say, well, I don't want to be an example. The kids might say, oh, we don't want to be examples. As pastors' kids. Well, I don't want people to expect you to be this, that, and the other thing either. But there's a certain amount of that, and they do, and we have to teach our kids kind of how to handle that.
Definitely.
But yes, the congregation looks at the pastor's family, and they might admire that, which I hope they do. But in any event, they're going to mimic that over time. And if the communication is poor, or they can tell that something's rocky, yes, that will affect other couples in that church. It absolutely will happen over time.
Yeah.
So we live in a glass house. We live in a glass house.
Yep.
Pastors, wives, ministry leaders live in glass houses. And hey, that we signed up for it. Maybe you didn't know you're signed up for it. But I feel it's actually a good thing in one sense. People always expect more of us, or think we're holier than we really are, so to speak. But I think it pushes me toward sanctification. It just pushes me to want to honor the Lord, because I know that if I dishonor the Lord, if I'm not walking with Him like I should, I impact a lot of people. And so to me, it's kind of just just a great encouragement, an exhortation to me. John, you need to keep up your walk with me, and you should be walking with me no matter if nobody was looking. But there happen to be hundreds of people checking you out, so to speak, here or there, and let it be okay.
Yeah.
Let it further your relationship with me.
And then so on the flip side, I mean, there's a reasonable expectation for our marriage of unity, of working together, of a mutual calling. She might have another job. She probably can't be at every event. I mean, whatever it is, that's reasonable. But on the flip side, you also say that the church hires the pastor, not the spouse, and that there should be a healthy expectation about her role. So this is kind of the other side of the coin. So it's like, on one hand, we should expect some unity and participation from our wives, just because that would be reasonable. And she's also a member, and she would serve like any other member, right? And there's also, like you said, we live in a glass house. People look for examples and ministry in life. But then on the other side, there could be an unhealthy expectation.
Well, let's say that you and your wife have gotten a new calling. There's a church that's called you, and you're excited about it. The last 2 or 3 pastors they had the wife was involved in everything.
Yeah.
And she was gifted and she was incredible and she sang in the choir and she was a soloist and she was amazing and she also spoke at many women's luncheons and things, okay?
Yeah.
Now, here's the new pastor's wife. Oh, we can't wait.
Yeah.
It's not a twofer.
Yeah.
When they pay for the pastor to come, it's not a twofer in terms of, well, we get the wife too, we'll use her to the max. And no, her full-time responsibility is caring for her husband and the children if they are there in work outside that, career, whatever. That's her main responsibility, her husband, caring for him. And so there are churches, I'm not saying every church is that way, but there are churches that have this, and sometimes unwritten expectation that the wife is to be at every meeting, this, that, everything. Where is she? I don't see her. I wonder where she is. And expect things of her like maybe she's not a great speaker. Maybe she's one that's better in the shadows. That's her personality. Mm-hmm. She'd rather sit in the back seat, back row a lot of times. And okay, that's her. The church needs to have vetted her as well, by the way. When they're vetting a new pastor, you better vet the wife.
That's true.
Well, and find out that, she's pretty low key. She's not like the other one. But hey, we want the pastor, so we understand that. Mm-hmm. Not be surprised. So the wife, here's what the way I see it, is the wife is gifted, like all of us are gifted. She may feel led to do certain things more than others. If she feels led to do it, she does it. Yeah. And if she feels led to get involved in this group and that group, most pastors' wives will get involved to some degree. They'll be involved in a Bible study or the women's group, or maybe they're going to sing in the choir or on the worship team. I don't know. But it's because they want to. Because they want to. They don't want to, then don't. Okay? That's the way it should be. And so church leadership and churches need to know that up front and be okay with that. And the wife needs to be okay with that because they can be put under undue circumstance, just pressure, being expected to be this, that, and the other things. Not right. It's not right. I don't want to see it. It's not a twofer. And yet there are churches that exist today that say, no, it's mandated. We got to get the most out of her too. Yeah. And I go, no, you don't.
I wonder if there's churches that ever pay a pastor a little bit more with the understanding that the wife will be highly involved.
Could
Does
be.
that make sense?
Yeah.
And
could be.
That seems reasonable. Hey, if you're expecting her to work 20 hours a week.
Exactly. And I know women right now, pastors' wives that are so involved. Yeah, they should get some remuneration. Now, it's a ministry. People serve volunteer. They volunteer and are not paid. Yeah. But I can think of some women that are so gifted that it's kind of tough to pay her too. It can get dicey in that way. But it's an interesting subject.
Yeah, and every church will handle it differently. But the expectation should be clear. Yes. And reasonable. I think that's what you're coming back to, which is the most important part. Well, I'm grateful that we both have wonderful spouses.
We do.
And
we've been blessed.
Patty's helped me tremendously in my own life. Yeah. And I know Carol has for you too. So it's a blessing.
She has, let me just share, that she has helped me with the temptation to be bitter, to hold grudges. Yeah. She has forgiven. She's helped me understand biblical forgiveness, because you're hurt along the way. And she personally has been hurt, in her life, in ministry, in the midst of ministry, in the midst of other Christians who love Jesus,
I'm sure after 50 years.
Yeah. There's disconnects that go deep, and the knife went deep, and the hurt went deep, and yet she didn't keep that grudge so that it just sapped the spiritual life right out of her. She found a way forward to see that person through the eyes of Jesus, and to look at that person as Jesus looks at that person, not forgetting the pain or forgetting the incident or the issue. How do you forget it? It's a stain. It's there. it's a scar. But choosing not to hold a grudge and to care for that person as an image bearer of Jesus anyway, and to do that in the power of the Holy Spirit. And she's done that, and she's helped me and taught me to do that in ministry. And I think that's part, and we've shared that earlier in terms of deep hurts in ministry, but that's part of resilience.
Definitely.
Of how you last long and well. You take those huge hits and hurts, and you still, instead of just surviving, you actually thrive through it, and you learn, you grow, you deepen in your character, and you carry on your body the brand marks of Jesus, because he was treated horribly, and yet he loved it deeply anyway.
Yeah, well, this is a great and important conversation, and I hope that for those listening, that it's a reminder, and it's a reminder for me, I'm sure for John himself, the writer of the book, and I hope for you guys as well too, who are serving in ministry and who are not serving in ministry, just to foster and cultivate the relationships that we have with our wives. So
that's right.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank you all for listening, and we will see you next time.
Great.